Who are you? I mean, really, it's probably the oldest question there is, right? It's the one we ask ourselves in those quiet moments, when we're staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. or when we're facing a huge life decision. But what if the answer you've been giving yourself is wrong? Or at least incomplete? What if the identity you think is so solid, so real, is actually just a story, a script you've been following, maybe without even realizing it? Today, we're not just going to ask, who are you? We're going to ask, who could you become? We are going to pull back the curtain on the hidden script that runs your life. And more importantly, we are going to hand you the pen. So let's just start with this idea, because it is a big one. You don't act based on who you truly are. You act based on the story you currently believe about yourself. Just let that sink in for a second. Every move you make, the career you chose, the relationships you're in, the goals you dare to set, isn't necessarily a reflection of your true deep down potential. Nope, it's a reflection of a story you've been telling yourself. It's the difference between I'm the kind of person who can lead a team and I'm just not a leader. One story opens up a world of possibilities, the other one closes the door before you even reach for the handle. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. This isn't just going to be some feel-good talk. We are going to map out the literal 4-part neurological loop that your brain runs automatically to keep you locked into that old story. You're going to see exactly how your brain builds and defends your current identity, brick by brick. And then we're going to give you a precise, science-backed 3-step method to break that loop and consciously write a new story for yourself. This isn't about wishful thinking, it's about strategic action. All right, you ready? Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll uncover the story that runs you, that invisible script you're living by every day. Then we'll get real about the emotional cost of that script in the agony of the gap. After that, we pop the hood and look at your brain's consistency engine. This is the powerful system that keeps you consistent. Then, the part you've been waiting for, how to rewrite your script, where we'll go through the 3-step method for real change. And finally, we'll bring it all home with the big idea, you are the author. Okay, so let's start with this foundational concept, the invisible force that is literally shaping your reality every single day, the story that runs you. Now, the official term for this is your self-concept, but let's just call it what it is, your internal story. It's the collection of all the beliefs you hold about yourself. And these aren't just little thoughts that pop up and disappear. Oh no, this is the core programming of your mind. It's the voice that whispers things like, I am smart, or I'm just so awkward with new people. I'm terrible with money, or I'm a survivor. I am not a creative person. These statements, a lot of them formed way back in childhood and then proven true over and over, become this silent, powerful operating system that guides your entire life. And I really can't overstate how much power this story has. It's not just about your mood. This thing is the silent director of your whole life. I mean, think about it. If your internal story says you are not a leader, you will literally scroll past a management job posting without a second thought. You won't even apply because you've already convinced yourself you're not qualified. If you believe deep down that you are unlovable, you might unconsciously push people away the second a relationship starts to get real. It dictates what you think you deserve, the risks you're willing to take, and the challenges that make you shrink back. It is the invisible fence that defines the boundaries of your entire world. So what happens when the story you're living doesn't match the life you actually want? Well, that brings us right to our next section, the agony of the gap. I think this is a feeling we all know, even if we don't have a name for it. It's the identity gap. It's that stressful, draining, internal tug of war you feel when you know you're capable of more, but you just feel stuck. It's the gap between the person who shows up every day and that incredible version of you that you can see in your mind's eye. And this isn't just some vague unhappiness. This conflict is a source of real chronic stress. It's like having a low-grade civil war going on inside your head 24/7. And let me tell you, that burns an incredible amount of mental energy. It is truly, deeply exhausting. So why does this gap feel so awful? Well, the answer is a core principle in psychology called cognitive consistency. Here's the thing about your brain. It's not really optimized for your happiness or even your success. It's optimized for survival. And a huge part of survival is predictability. Your brain has this deep, primal need for your actions to line up perfectly with your beliefs. So when your behavior contradicts your self-concept, when you, the uncreative person, have a brilliant idea, it triggers this blaring alarm in your mind called cognitive dissonance. And your brain hates that feeling. It feels chaotic, unsafe, and just wrong. And it will do almost anything to shut that alarm off. And this idea completely reframes something we all beat ourselves up about: self-sabotage. We see it as a character flaw, right? We think we're lazy or we lack willpower,
But from your brain's point of view, self-sabotage is a feature, not a bug. It's a defense mechanism. When you try to change, you create that painful cognitive dissonance. And the quickest, easiest way for your brain to silence that alarm is to yank you right back to the old familiar behavior. It will always prioritize the stable, predictable story it already knows, even if that story is negative, over the scary, uncertain, energy-sucking process of becoming someone new. That procrastination you're feeling, it isn't you being lazy. It's your brain trying to protect its story. It's a survival mechanism, not a personal failing. Okay, so if your brain is this committed to the story, how does it actually enforce it? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. It's time to look under the hood at your brain's incredible consistency engine. This engine runs on a perfect, closed four-part loop. I want you to picture an automated factory that's designed to produce just one thing, a stable you. It's clean, efficient, and brutally effective. It starts with the blueprint. That's your self-schema. That blueprint triggers the factory's scanning system, which is selective attention. This leads to production, which is your congruent behavior. And finally, the product is stamped for approval, which is schema reinforcement, locking that blueprint in for the very next run. Let's break down each step of this assembly line. It all starts here with the self-schema. This is the blueprint, the core belief. It's a simple but incredibly powerful statement like, I am not a good public speaker, or I am not a disciplined person. This isn't just a random thought. It's a core piece of data that's been saved to your mental hard drive. It's the I am or I am not statement that kicks off this whole chain reaction. Now, once that schema is loaded, your brain's next job is to prove that it's true, and it does this with a powerful cognitive bias called selective attention, or you might know it as confirmation bias. See, your brain doesn't see the world as it is. It scans the environment like a detective who's already decided who the bad guy is. It's searching for one thing and one thing only, evidence that confirms the story it already believes. Anything that contradicts that story, a compliment, an unexpected success, any positive data is treated like static on the radio and is literally filtered out before you're even consciously aware of. So let's play this out. Let's say your schema is, I am bad at public speaking. You have to give a presentation to 20 people. 19 of them are totally engaged, they're nodding, taking notes, but one person in the back glances at their phone. After the talk, what do you think about for the next 3 days? The one person. Your brain magnifies that one piece of evidence and completely discounts the 19 others. You'll tell yourself, oh, they were just being nice, or, well, it was an easy topic. Your brain systematically builds a completely biased court case to prove its original story right every single time. Okay, so now your brain has this warped, biased view of reality. The next logical step, your behavior follows suit. This is what's called self-concept congruent behavior. Basically, you start acting in ways that line up with the story. It's like you're an actor who's been handed a script. If your character's name is not a leader, you're going to stay quiet in meetings, you won't raise your hand for that tough project. If your character is undisciplined, you're going to hit that snooze button. You unconsciously perform the role that your internal script has assigned to you, proving the story right for yourself and for everyone else. And this brings us to the final step, the one that locks the whole loop in place. When you act in a way that matches your story, and the world reacts just like you predicted it would. See, I kept quiet and no one even noticed me. Your brain gets a little reward. Now, it's not a rush of pleasure like eating chocolate cake. It's something much more fundamental, a feeling of coherence, of predictability. Your brain's number one job is to predict what's going to happen next to keep you safe. And when it gets it right, it feels a sense of control. It says, see, I was right. The world makes sense. And that feeling of rightness reinforces the original schema, making the entire loop tighter and the story even more deeply ingrained for next time. This whole system is incredibly powerful. But it also sounds a little crazy, right? Why on earth would your brain work so hard to maintain a negative story? Why is it so obsessed with being consistent, even if it comes at the cost of your own happiness or success? Well, the answer comes down to the brain's core priorities. Think of it like this. Your brain is constantly choosing between two paths. Path one is cognitive consistency. To the brain, this is the safe path. It's familiar, it's predictable, it's a superhighway that requires very little energy to travel on. Path two is radical self-revision, changing your story. To the brain, this path is a dark, scary forest. It's unpredictable, it requires a ton of cognitive energy, and it creates that awful blaring alarm of cognitive dissonance. So, given the choice, your brain, which is designed for efficiency, will almost always pick the path of least resistance. It's not about what's true or false, it's about saving energy and keeping the world predictable. Okay, so we've mapped out the system that keeps you stuck. It is powerful, It is automated and it is efficient. But, and this is a big but, it is not unbreakable. And that brings us to the most important part of this whole explainer. This is where you stop being an actor reading a script and you start being the writer. So how do you actually practically rewrite the script?
The process involves 3 very deliberate steps. It's about becoming a conscious participant in that loop we just talked about and basically hijacking it for your own benefit. First, you conduct a story audit to find and name the limiting belief. Second, you use strategic behavioral intervention to introduce new, undeniable evidence. And third, this is the key, you create a thought-action link to make that new evidence stick.
The first step is always awareness. You cannot change a story you don't even know you're telling. So take a second right now and really think about it. Where in your life do you feel the most stuck? What do you find yourself constantly avoiding? Behind that feeling of avoidance, there is almost always a core limiting belief, an I am not statement that's holding you back. Is it I am not creative, I'm not disciplined, I am not worthy of a happy relationship? You have to name it to tame it. Get specific, write it down.
Okay, once you have it, the next move is absolutely crucial. You have to apply this simple but incredibly powerful reframing tool. Instead of treating that belief as some unchangeable fact about who you are, you have to see it for what it is, just a story. When you say to yourself, the belief that I'm not disciplined is a story I can change, it is not a final verdict, you create psychological distance. You're separating yourself from the belief. It stops being who you are and becomes something you have. And anything you have, you can change. And now for the intervention. And this is the part that feels totally backward, but it's where the magic is. You cannot think your way into a new identity. You have to act your way into it. You must deliberately create a piece of hard evidence that your brain's old filtering system simply cannot ignore. You have to take one small, concrete action that lines up with the person you want to be. The idea is simple. Act as if the new identity is already true, even if you don't feel it yet. Your feelings will follow your behavior, not the other way around. And please notice the emphasis here on the word small. This is absolutely critical. We're not talking about some massive, life-altering effort. That stuff is intimidating, and it'll just trigger your brain's threat alarm and lead to more procrastination. We're talking about a single action that is so small, it's almost ridiculous not to do it. If your story is, I'm a procrastinator, the goal isn't to finish your entire project. It's to work on it for 5 minutes, just 5. If your story is, I'm shy, the goal isn't to give a TED Talk. It's to speak up for just 30 seconds in your next meeting. The only goal here is to generate one single, undeniable data point that contradicts the old story. Now, this last step is the secret sauce. It's the one most people miss, and it's why change doesn't stick. Right after you take that small action, your brain's old programming will immediately try to dismiss it. It's going to say, that was nothing, that doesn't count, or you just got lucky. You have to consciously interrupt that process. You have to connect the action you just took to the identity you want to have. You have to grab that piece of new evidence, walk it up to your brain's CEO, and highlight it, making sure it gets filed in the right folder. And here is the exact technique. After you work for those 5 minutes, you have to pause, and you have to say to yourself, that was a vote for my new identity as a disciplined person. When you consciously label the action like that, you are manually forcing your brain to categorize this new behavior as meaningful evidence. Now, look, one vote doesn't win an election, but it starts a movement. You are hacking the reinforcement part of the loop. Every small action, followed by this conscious labeling, is another vote cast. And over time, those votes pile up until they create a landslide. And a landslide is a new identity. And all of this brings us to our final and most empowering section. Because when you start to practice this 3-step process, you realize something profound about who you really are. This right here is the shift in perspective that changes everything. We tend to think of our identity as something fixed, something we have to dig deep to discover, like finding a treasure. But the science shows us something far more exciting and way more empowering. Your identity isn't found, it's built. It is a construction, like a house, and you are both the architect and the builder. You are building it moment by moment, with the stories you tell yourself and the actions you take. And this means you are not stuck with the house you inherited. You can renovate, you can add a new wing, you can tear it down to the studs and rebuild the whole thing from scratch. And that's because your brain is the most loyal and powerful ally you will ever have. It doesn't have its own agenda. Its only agenda is to prove you right. It will work tirelessly 24/7 to create a reality that matches whatever story you give it. So if you give it a story of limitation, it will find the evidence and build that world for you. But if you give it a new story, a story of growth and potential, and you start backing it up with these little votes of evidence, it will work just as hard with just as much power to make that story come true.
So the point of all this is simple. You are the author. The pen has been in your hand this whole time. You now understand the system that was holding you back, and you have the tools for the rewrite. So the only question left is the one on the screen. What story will you choose to write next?